Hello, hello. Welcome to the pre-ritual to the 7 days of programming hell. So, good time of day, everyone. This is my last minute to making sure I have all the components ready to actually begin in earnest tomorrow and not remake everything from the ground up. I've done a bit of work trying to get this system a little more fine-tuned, working on more component side, but let's get into it. I'm a little underprepared today. So, da da da. Let me get out my this. That is 0 to that. Yep, little underbaked today. Yep. Oh, wait. 1 second. Actually, no, I forgot to hit the flag to not have it do the going back and forth, which annoys me to no end. Yeah, let's lock that movement control. Everything should be hunky-dory. There we go. Yep, everything's better on there. Okay, so what I currently have is this mess, which I haven't taken a look, but I reuse a lot. I'm going to pare it down. I'm probably going to have to keep the sprite renderer, because I use that for everything. The text system editor, which I use for everything. I mean, if I wanted to have, like, go in and go back, I could just put that in there, but anyways. Text editor I use for this. Tile map render, I don't know if I'll be using. It is part, like, as is. It is part of the sprite renderer, so it stays along. Now, player data. This sucker is probably getting tossed. In fact, let's do that right now because I'm going to have enemies and players be the same system. So let's just delete this. I have a backup. This is literally just toolkit copying. Into the void. Into the void. And now my constant header is probably going to yell at me. Nope. Okay. Is there anything that's going to yell at me? Because all I have right now that I've been working on is this grid system, which is the basic flood fill. And I'll get to a minute what I'm going to want to have. The menu data we talked about we made the other time, and this should be working fine for everything. Everything I needed to. I might have to revise a few parts. I probably will just be forking it for every menu instead of like tediously setting it up so it can be multifaceted and work for everything. Because, you know, it takes 20 minutes to do 20 minutes to do 5 minutes of work and then copy it and then tweak it in under, like, you know, a minute to work for other things instead of set it all up properly and take a lot more time to push it into everything else. The proper way is not the fast way. We are on extreme horse go logic. So anyways, this is basically my goals to go over, and I don't know if I will get them all set up today. Probably after stream, you know, I veg for like 3 hours or for 8 hours before I go into what is tomorrow. So 1. That's a little big. 18. 1. Grid system. Which means we have flood fill for pathing. I'll show what I mean in a second on that. Check walls. FOV system. 2. Entity controller. able to sort enemies by distance to player. This is very important because it makes the AI a lot better. Because you can literally run into the situation where... Let me just put over here. We have our little guy right here. And then we have A and B. A and B are right next to each other. And if for some bizarre reason B is first and we have a switch system in place, we end up with this. And then the next turn, if we have a swap system in place, you know, they'll switch positions because they're on the same side. And then we'll just end up with this again. If B goes first, it's going to want to switch places with A. And if it can, it will. And then if A wants to go and it's after B, it will switch back and it's at the same position. What giving it so that I can sort by distance to player simplifies this a lot, because it means there's always the assumption that the closer enemy is going to move towards the player. Therefore, the enemy right behind it will move afterward. While it's not like the most... How should I put this? It is not the most RPG-ish, where there's initiative and stuff, unless you want to go back to old school systems where it's like, you have turn order and it's literally just Disgaea or tactics maps where one side moves and the other side moves. So I guess it's leaning more towards that, but it helps. I've found this out over the years. Like, don't bother trying to get enemies to move in a sane order unless the system really calls for it. So anyways, want to have that. This year, want enemy to have weapons to simplify combat system, aka enemies equal player. Want to have... Well, maybe not. Okay, I was going to say I want to have the possibility of having multiple enemies, or multiple things that the enemies will go to, but that might be a little more complicated than I'm going for. System has rooms. Knows when player enters and leaves, which should be mostly able to be solved by just having rectangles, in all honesty. Could probably use Rex or use my own struct for that. Doesn't matter. Either way. And what else do I need to have the basics for? Ah yeah, FOV, which I am probably going to be stealing from the Roguelike Basin, because they have a nice C++ one sitting there. Excuse me 1 second, I need the premium caffeine. There's your ASMR for the day. Okay. This is probably going to be more custom per things, but interaction system besides grid. Heresy and roguelikes, especially traditional ones, but anyways, that's kind of what I'm shooting for to make sure I have all in this system system today. Or at least the very basics. Like, I'm not going to go into full detail. That's for actually doing stuff. This is just the tools that if I were to get libcod, yeah, I think that, either way, the roguelike stuff, the roguelike libraries that are floating out there, I get all this for free. Except for maybe knowing the room thing. But what I have right now that I have done off screen, or off stream completely, let me actually, there you are, close down, is I have made this grid class, which allows me to have a grid of a foo size, yada yada. Then I have subgrids, which as a concept allow me to slap in at any point Yeah, but to slap in a tile, pretty much. Or no, sorry. Tile maps. This is what I'm talking about. This is just how... Actually, what are these used for? I am using it. That should be larger. Or smaller, something like that. 1 second. Anyways. Something's a bit off there. This is what happens when I code and I just kind of get it working and don't care. This is why you put notes there. This makes sense. The subgrids... I would assume actually more. They would be... This is 40 wide. This is 20 wide. I think I typoed something when I put it in here. Subgrids would be like the actual tiles that go in there. Anyways, moving on. Yeah. Okay. And I have a few little things. And I actually have discovered the fun of inline, which effectively, when this compiles, it replace this code with this code. So I have some little systems that give me... Do I even use this anywhere? Huh. Let me actually see. Oh, no. Yep, I do have... The subgroups are 5 by 5. That's what I was testing with. What am I... No, this is wrong. I don't use it anywhere else. Okay, I didn't get anywhere with that. That's completely wrong, because this tile map width should be the same as grid width. Anyways. I don't know what I was doing. I'm getting lost in the sauce. Anyway, grid width. Focus. Okay. One thing I did do that's a little interesting is that I had figured out that I had found online a kind of dumb method to persist. So here's the basic problem. You are here. You wish to get a random tile and then move to it. Now, I could make a system that's predetermined and like it will go in like a general or like rotate around to get it. But I wanted it to be completely random. So what this does is that it takes a literal int and all the bytes is 0. And it'll just mark in the direction which way it's tried to go. So it sees like that this is a wall here. And then it will mark this one as a 1. And then it'll roll again, and then if it sees this is a 1, it doesn't even check, it just keeps rolling until it hits another, and then slowly iterates through the list until it runs out. And that's what this is. Why this is useful is that I can break it apart. I'll have to keep this little mask that floats around forever, or well, until the process is done. And yeah, I should probably put a to-do in here. If mask is completely... return -1 or something. I can't type. Too early for this. Anyways. And then, as I said before, the inline stuff, which is kind of neat. It should speed up code by nanoseconds. probably picoseconds. Something silly. And what all this does is I got this right here. I'm able to stamp in at any point stuff like this. And then I'm able to seed a integer array with pathfinding points, and everything will go to that. And I can run the code, but you can't see it. Basically, it makes this, where zeros are unwalkable space. I'm not going to put up my output console. So this right here is a little structure we stamped in, which is going to be useful for making rooms. And all the ones are walkable. I should have probably used something better. And then I have pathfinding at a bunch of random points. And I have... Am I off by one? Where does this go? Well, I think I see a little bug going on. Lovely. But, that's neither here nor there. Okay. So I have pathfinding from these 0 points right here. And what I mean by pathfinding is that I slowly grow a frontier from each one of these zeros that will cover the entire map. It flood fills it with a gradient to it. If you're standing at this point and you look at all adjacent things, ignore that P. I have to figure out something, because I just saw over here that all the zeros are fine, but I'm getting some of these in here, and I don't like that. I think I have a bug somewhere. Same with, like, occasionally down here. Not on the side, though, so it's a left-down biased thing, which, fun. Anyways, so, if you are right here, and you want to move towards a point of interest, which is created by making this gradient, you just look at all the places you can move and go like, hey, is it lower than this one? Then you move there. And that is the basis of my AI, so I do not have to have each individual entity actually pathfind and track stuff. All I do is that I make a list every round of spreading out from the player to like some arbitrary amount, and then it stops, which will be mostly useful. So anyways, that's where that's at. Now back to some actual stuff. So I said I wanted to have FOV. So we're going to have it be FOV.header, because I make everything a header. I'm terrible. And I have some roguelike basin code to just copy over. FOV with recursive shadow casting. I generally dislike using recursive recursion because yeah. And there is nobody saying anything on this on like who actually put it in here. This code is unassigned type of Okay. Now, I'm just going to put a little bit of a note here. How shadow casting works in a nutshell, which is a little hard to explain, is that it divides the area up into 8 locations, and then applies a very specific method to iterate through these and see if something blocks the next. I'll just put it like that. Now, I'm probably going to have to pound include grid.h, because I'm going to need to have access to that. Oh, this uses a class. I don't want to use a class. Can I take the class stuff out? As I can. Welcome to the mess of using other people's code. They like to use random things that you firmly don't like. Okay, so first off, this is going to be an int grid of max grid size. Actually, is this main grid? Do I have a main grid set up? No. I think I'm going to try to avoid that because most of my stuff right now is going to be passing things around. So anyways, let's look through this. I think this is doing inbounds. Thank you for not putting any comments in here. It's very helpful when you make sure that it's completely unreadable. Okay. Okay. Inbound. Okay, what did I call it? I'm pretty sure I have an inbounds. Get index. Valid coordinate. Yeah, valid coordinate. There we go. That should replace this. AX, AY. So if it gets outside that, it continues. And of course you have that. We are going to have another grid. Int visible of grid max value. No, forgot that. And instead of having this whole, set visible. Really, didn't copy? I hate this stuff. Okay. And we are going to have this be get index. Oh yeah, thank you for eating that character. It's so helpful. I really dislike modern IDEs. I'm very considering going back to just Notepad++. Because literally typing anything, oh, I made the decision to delete half your line and put a closing bracket there. That's very helpful, right? Okay. So we got that. Let's go back into here to see about is wall index. I know you can put in plugins in there. I don't know if they get it as obnoxious. I literally just want to have it show me the basic, what it's called. I think it's called Smart Sense and some stuff where it's like, hey, here's the logical things on here. Like, here's a little list next to it. If you click on it or hit tab, it'll be fine. But like everything's aggressively just deleting your own code because you had the audacity to try and autocomplete something at this point, and it drives me nuts. Especially at work, where they have a lot of other things that they want enabled, and therefore I get lines upon lines of fake code that appear in a place if I hit tab at the wrong time and have to figure out what I'm all messed up. So is... Yeah, is wall index. Block site. I'll just call it that. Why do I want to put down a word I might misspell later? And right now it's going to be is wall. The same thing as is wall. If we want to put stuff in here that's different, we will. Okay, so we get that. And then from grid, we get the get index of AX, AY. So if that blocks site, that blocks this. Now the same thing down here. I could put more fancy stuff on top of fancy stuff to make it all simpler. That would require me to basically make an internal array. Okay, so we pass in grid, we pass in visible, and the recursion is happy. And this is an int grid max. Excuse me. Oh, this is probably just more spam. 1 second. Spam call. Had to check. I'm expecting some message from someone. Anyways. Now back to my inability to remember what the heck my variables are, which is the only part about so I'm going to need to have wait, how did you oh, because you have it inbuilt into yeah. So I need to bring visible into this as well because I'm not passing a class around. Just give me raw data types and I'll be happy. Okay. This should, quote unquote, be enough to work. Will it? I don't know. So I am going to need on this end, in order to test stuff. Oh wait, that's not it. There we go. I'm used to main being on the left. So, at this point, I'm going to need a bool of visible is equal to grid max value. And it's going to be initiated to false, I believe. And then, oh, I also have to import it, or include it. What is it? Program runs? Probably have it at the top of this. There we go. This means it only compiles once and does not get us into terrible, ugly things. Okay. Thank you for putting that right above what I was trying to copy. It was very useful to not actually be able to see anything. So we will have the grid. Or main grid. Why do we not have do FOV? Oh, I forgot to include them. That's why. Do FOV. So we pass in main grid. We pass in the visible grid. Let me get this up so I can tell where it is. Oh, wait, I could just... So we slap this down at 18 by 6. So let's go over like 15 by 8. That sounds like a good. 15, 8, and we'll have a radius of 20. That sounds fine. Did I actually do an int? I did an int. Okay, it's fine. Whatever. I think a bool would be stored as an int anyways. It's something silly, but whatever. Actually, I should. Okay, Bitfield, let's see what you do. And then, for int y is less than grid height, y plus plus, for int x is less than grid width, x plus plus, int index, actually I'll put it out here, int index equals 0, index equals get index xy if visible index cout will be this, else cout will be this. And then cout will be a new line so that we can actually see something. Okay, let's compile and see how it explodes. Stop yelling at me. Nobody cares. Better return in there in some fashion. Okay, let's find the next one. Okay, everything hunky-dory? Let me run this in my other window and see how badly it dies. It seems everything. I got back all of the... Oops. This is what I got back. Absolutely nothing. So, something is either broken. He said it wasn't working, but it was a good starting point. Maybe it was completely broken. And I might just have to hand make some things. Just for int start x equals 15. Start y equals 8. Just so I can get a little more view into this. Y equals start y. E out at. And then continue. Let me just compile that, see if I get anything different. Okay, I have my at. Good. Actually, I have this backward. Is it backwards? So what is this doing? Let me also check the source code. Literally, it just says a C++ implementation of name I can't pronounce, recursive shadow casting, FOVL. It's mostly part of, however, is not a working compiled program, but rather just an example that can be used as a starting point. I'm just trying to see if I actually accidentally screwed something up in here. Because it doesn't even say if it should start off with a all filled. I think this is mostly backwards. I might have this backwards, and this should be all filled to false. Or no, all to true? I'd really just love like one little line of text saying, this is where it puts it to false, or puts it to not be visible. But, other people's code, it's painful and it's self-commenting, you know, because you could actually tell what the code does by reading what the code does. But not if anything is not possible. I want to copy this over for a second. I don't need that one. There we go. So I'm just going to go through. Cout int visible get core or index from xy. And oops, wrong brackets. And that should get me Okay, it is all zeros. Which doesn't mean it's blocked or not. There's a question. Did I break something when I checked to see if it was in bounds? Valid chord is if... And I hate your notation. I know it's math notation, but I can't follow it. The out, bad chord at... I think everything's just being marked as a bad coordinate. Violet. This isn't going to be the most interesting. Yeah, everything's a bad chord. Okay, so that's the part that's wrong. Until it gets into like SDL, it's not going to show anything, but this is just a prep stream. Purely just background. If x is less than 0, oh, I want an inverse, that's why. My bad. I want an inverse of that. That should be the solution to this. Amazing. Behold, shadow casting from somebody's code online. It's probably also, you know, gave them my bank account while I was compiling it, but pop this up. So this is, do I still have it up? This little section right here. So these 5 zeros are walls. So these 5 zeros are walls. Therefore, this is the structure blocking line of sight going this way. Pretty neat. You know what? I might as well, because it'll be useful for testing this. Let's make a little system. Now I'm going to bring up in a notepad next to this what I do in other things, because good lord, do I not remember how to do half the setup. Okay, let's pop open fake 3D stuff. Let's open that in Notepad++. And this just hops straight into... SDL setup. That's what I need to do first. I'm guessing I have that in my heartbeat in this. Construction, yeah, heartbeat controller. Room. Are you happy now? You're happy now. So if I run this... Okay, we're getting rid of that. Is that going to throw a fit anywhere? Yeah. Don't need this. Because this is all for... All for my RPG sort of stuff. So it's not needed. We don't need that. And we don't need the test battle loop. Honestly, could just do this. This returns... Okay, yeah. Just what we need. So... Oh no, is it going to do this stuff to me again? One second, let me check. If it's going to do this to me, I'm going to just do all this off stream and get it all set up. Because I really don't like going like, huh, I move thing to folder. Folder thing no work now. Huh. For like 3 hours. Because that's literally what it boils down to. Because it's just crap to set up. So I'm making sure all the files are in there. Why are you not doing it now when you're literally the same exact code from the other time I did it last week? Oh, actually, maybe it's something broken system or reset. Let me open the other one. So we did fake 3D stuff last week. Let's open that folder. I don't care. There's a new version every week. I don't care. And that compiles. Awesome. I love when stuff is inconsistent. Especially on a system that should be deterministic as heck. Oh. Oh, did I just not... I forgot. Okay. I'm being dumb. I forgot to have the STL headers in there. That's why. Ignore me. It's yelling because I don't have this. I don't care. Holy crap. Yeah, I'll update so that I can have it crash and not be able to do anything for the next few. Of course not. Yeah. Let me pop that one open just so I could see. I hate setup with a passion. And this is all just dumb, stupid setup. I have all the files sitting in the main folder because I can't point to them when it's proper install location. I tried to do that last time. So everything sits in the main folder so it doesn't have to have references to references to references that, oh no, your computer updated, it cleared the references. Fuck me if it actually works right. Okay. I am going to copy the fake 3D stuff, which actually works for no apparent reason. Prep 2. Okay. And then I'm going to take all the code that I have made in here and just copy right on top of it. Because none of this is like pointing to like, oh, you're missing this. It's just saying like, hey, we can't find this thing at this location, which I shouldn't be using. It should be using it within folder. But hey. Actually, let me go back. Because maybe this is actually saving the stupid, No, I don't care. How many times do I have to click that? No, it's the same stupid command. Oh, I hate this so much. My job is literally all day like, hey, how is the config slightly different? Because nobody can actually explain how anything is set up. They just say, look at the thing, it'll work. And then when they try to do the thing, they have to talk to everybody else for like 3 days as well. But somehow, you know, me trying to do it is different. Mostly because I'll say like, this seems really stupid. Okay. So, open folder. Prep 2. So this is literally a clone. I don't care. Oh my god. Stop popping up all the crap. I literally do not give a fuck. Okay. Yeah, now it doesn't run. I hate setup with a passion. Just let me import the code. Okay. Literally, I'm importing everything that I should be. From here, I'm using standard namespace. I'm not doing anything else, but this works over here for no apparent reason. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to cut it today because I'm not going to get anywhere else on this. Trying to explain everything or even make it entertaining besides look at the screen and curse every once in a while. So, sorry about that, but it seems that coding setup path crap has decided to foil me again. I will be getting back to this tomorrow at... I think I was going to be starting at 8. No, I was going to be starting at 9, so it's going to be the same time. So it should be fine, and then at noon I'm going to switch over to actually working on it. But I need to make sure this is all set up, and I can't just stream this, so... Till then... You have a good time of day, and I will see you later.